So apparently, smart guns are finally arriving in the US.
It's a frosty January day at this firing range in Boise, Idaho, where the rangemaster checks and readies to fire a new prototype of what might be the handgun of the future. Developed by Lodestar Works, this 9mm pistol is a prototype smart gun, equipped with fingerprint reader, passcode, and a way to lock and unlock it from a mobile phone.
Right now we're testing two different positions for that biometric from an ergonomic standpoint. The first being right here, where you'd either touch it with your thumb or your index finger. The opposite side with your index finger more when you're in a shooting position.
Rob Regent is a mechanical engineer with SGW Design Works, which is building the Lodestar prototype.
The second authentication method is a pin pad right here, and what those are just more or less tactile push buttons. There's 3 of them. You know, you can do 4 to 6 digits. It acts much like an electronic door lock would. The third method is the BLE or the Bluetooth low energy. And basically we have a mobile application that communicate wirelessly to the gun, and you can lock or unlock from any of those methods altogether.
Personalized smart guns, which can only be fired by verified users, may finally be available to U.S. consumers after 2 decades of questions about reliability and concerns they will usher in a new wave of government regulation.
Look, I have 3 MacBooks, 3 desktops, 2 iPhones. I sell smart electronic gun safes on my shop.mrcolion.noir.com site, and I think the electric car that is the Porsche Taycan is one of the best looking cars on the street right now. I am a smart tech whore, so I have no problem with them developing smart guns. Make as many Daft Punk, Bladerunner, crypto guns you want. Just don't force me or anyone else to buy them. Unfortunately, that's exactly what the likes of Joe Biden and the rest of the anti-gun politicians and organizations want to do.
Lastly, we should have smart guns. No gun should be able to be sold unless your biometric measure could pull that trigger. It's within our right to do that.
So the gun community isn't against smart gun technology. We're against being forced to replace all of our guns with smart gun technology.
Lodestar co-founder Gareth Glazer told Reuters the inspiration for the company came after hearing one too many stories about children shot while playing with an unattended gun.
I'd seen the abject failure of every policy to try to do something about gun safety. Lobbying and regulations and lawsuits and, and it all goes nowhere. Not one life is saved. In fact, the statistics just keep going up.
Actually, the number of unintentional gun deaths is decreasing, not going up. However, these deaths are still tragic nonetheless. Unintentional gun deaths make up 1% of total gun-related deaths. That's about 500 unintentional gun deaths a year. Of those deaths, 28.3% are from playing with guns, i.e. kids getting their hands on a loaded gun. 17.2% are from people believing the gun wasn't loaded, and 13.8% were from hunting. That means smart guns will only realistically possibly prevent about 145 unintentional gun deaths, because a smart gun won't prevent hunting accidents or believing your gun wasn't loaded and pulling the trigger. So that's 145 unintentional gun deaths that can be easily solved by keeping your gun away from kids who are untrained and uneducated about guns, or you could just simply train and educate them, and this largely becomes a non-issue. If you can teach a kid not to touch a stove, you can teach them not to touch a gun.
Advocates say smart guns could also reduce suicides. A lost or stolen gun would be useless, and police officers would not have to fear that their own service weapons might be taken and used against them.
I'm not buying the idea that smart guns will prevent suicides. The only suicides that I can see a smart gun preventing is someone using a family member's or friend's gun. South Korea has a much higher suicide rate than the US. 28.6 per 100,000 people compared to 16.1, and you can't even own a gun in South Korea unless you keep it at a police station. And the most common form in South Korea is by poison and hanging. That should tell you that guns aren't the issue. As for making lost or stolen guns useless, allow me to introduce hacking.
This pistol, the Armatics IP1 and its RFID watch, are sold as one of the most secure firearm systems available.
The IP1 requires the watch to be present in order to fire. If the watch is absent, the gun does not fire.
But a security researcher who goes by the pseudonym Plore has found flaws in the Armatics, both high and low tech, that entirely defeat its security measures. He intends to present his findings at this year's hacker conference, DEF CON.
Not only was it was insecure in a way that was easier than I had anticipated.
He found ways to extend the range of the watch's connection to the pistol, to jam the gun's radio signals, preventing it from firing even when the shooter is wearing the watch. And most alarmingly, to fire the pistol without the watch at all by using simple and cheap magnets.
And as far as smart guns preventing criminals from taking cops' guns and using it against them, I don't see too many cops racing to go get smart guns. As a matter of fact, I'd be pretty certain that most of them don't want them. And truth be told, we kind of already solved this issue a long time ago. It's called retention.
In the past few years, Safariland has been able to develop what we call a level 4 holster. Let me just demonstrate it quickly. If you take a look at the holster, if you take and do anything you want to the grip of the weapon, it's going to remain in the holster remain locked onto the belt of the officer. The primary release right here is this mechanism we call a sentry. So by me releasing the sentry, it will still now pass a level 1 test. At the end of that, if I simply take and push down on the SLS system, if you notice when I push down on the SLS system, it releases it, but unless I move it forward, it's still locked. But I'm going to release it and push this forward, and as I do, it will still pass another level 1 test. This will be the 3rd time. The weapon is still locked in the holster. At the final part there, if I take and grip the weapon properly and release this final lever, then I can draw the weapon. And so that gives us our level 4. And it's a very quick operating holster where we just draw the weapon quickly from the holster after releasing all those mechanisms.
The Lodestar gun would sell for $895. Similar firearms are being readied for market by other developers.
Like I said before, make all the smart guns you want. I love the Porsche Taycan. It's fully electric, it's fast, and it's gorgeous. But I don't want one right now. I want a gas-powered car. The government isn't mandating me to buy electric cars, at least for now. So it shouldn't mandate me to buy a smart gun, especially when the problems they claim to fix in theory aren't really fixed in reality. People shouldn't be forced to rely on experimental technology to protect their lives, especially when the old technology works just fine. The truth is, the anti-gun lobby, politicians, and groups salivate over smart guns because it's the perfect way to gain the control they so desperately want. The Second Amendment was specifically written to give power to the people, not the government. So unless there's going to be some sort of firearm blockchain that the government can't gain any control of, I don't trust the government to have control of what my gun does and doesn't do. Hell, I don't even want private companies to have control over what my gun does and doesn't do. And that's exactly what smart guns are. They are a gateway to give power over your gun's functions to someone else that doesn't have your best freedom in mind. Speaking of which, I need people to remember that the Founding Fathers wrote the Second Amendment to empower us, not put our faith in government. So when the Second Amendment says a well-regulated militia, it's talking about you. You are the militia. That's why the rest of the Second Amendment says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, because it was referring to you. And that's why I came up with the I am the militia design, because to not only remind you that you yourself are the militia, but to also remind everyone else that they are responsible for their own safety. So head over to shop.mrcolionnoir.com and grab your I am the militia shirt. Guns aren't political. That's why I need your help getting this message to spread on YouTube by clicking the thumbs up button, leaving a comment to let me know what you think of the video, then subscribing to the channel. But most importantly, click that bell symbol. For products featured in this video, click the links in the description.